We bring Doug Flynn in for more on this. And does that affect, I guess, the visibility, as they say, for the, Powell and company looking forward and maybe not wanting to commit to what they're going to do?
Definitely. You know, he always is like a little bit of a Debbie Downer when he speaks, and the market tends to sell off. But yeah, they were in a data blackout. There's no question about it. And you can use all the private data you want, but they want their government data. And we may not get it. Hopefully we'll get it soon in the next month or so. But they got to do some catch up. And they need that for the December meeting to really decide whether they're going to do it or not. So I think that's what this is just kind of resetting the expectations that we need that information before we can make a better qualified decision, and so that kind of shook everybody a little bit in the near term.
Speaking of private data, some of the private data that I'm thinking of, as you and I talked about earlier in the week, is job cuts, like the Amazon story or UPS, or these companies that are maybe starting to, rather than just not hire people, starting to fire people. Paramount out with some layoffs today. So that's got to be something they're considering as well. Like all the rest of us, they got to figure out how they're going to manage this AI era, and now if it's starting a little bit quicker than some thought, that's got to be in his head.
Has to be. I mean, there are companies that do put out their own versions of different, surveys and whatnot. So that's some of that data. But also, a lot of companies, what they're doing now is they're starting to not give the raises that they used to give. And
yes,
what that does is that's the first sign before, hey, before we fire people, maybe we can get people to leave if we're not giving them the raises, so that kind of help them sort of thin out their ranks. But if that doesn't happen, then the layoffs start to go. And where this is typically going to hurt the most is at the lower end of the income spectrum, and that's really where people are going to feel it the most. The people who can ill afford losing their job, that don't maybe have savings to back them up.
Or investments. I mean, that's what I've been trying to talk about this as much as possible because I do think it's a huge, huge story. I mean, if the Dow goes down 100 points today, whatever, it doesn't matter much to too many people that are invested because it's been up so much. And that's where people are, the people who are invested, especially in the stock market, but all kinds of financial assets, feel so much better than those that are not in this economy with inflation hitting. I have a chart here, median growth and annual income. And if you're going paycheck to paycheck and you see, this kind of a drop off, a few years ago and really not back to, levels that we were at, a decade ago right now, but inflation's, close to 3% and your salary's not going up, those are the people who don't feel good right now for obvious reasons. So it's like this two Americas thing.
It's really three Americas, really, because if you look at it, the rich people, none of this matters. The people in the middle are doing okay, but they're teetering. They need to continue to do okay. The bottom part, the lower wage earners, those 50,000 or less, they have 30% in combined of all the income in the U.S., but they're only 15% of all the consumer spending. So what happens is you also get skewed numbers. Oh, the consumer's doing great overall. The consumer, 70% of the economy is doing fantastic. But where that's coming from is the middle and the very top. And so the lower end is not spending as much. And so it's going to hurt those people the most, but it doesn't really have all the same impact on the overall numbers that we use when we're looking at GDP and how we're doing overall. So you do have to look deeper and say, what's the impact of those people? And they're suffering. They're not getting the wage growth. They have the least wage growth out of all three of those Americas, if you want to put it that way.
And we see it in politics. I mean, we see it here in New York City and the mayor's race. I mean, this is it. It's a very expensive country to live in. Here's an expensive city to live in. So this rich gets richer, poor get poorer. It's been a story for decades, but it's we have to think more about it because it's a bigger story, I think, than it's ever been before. Thank you, Doug. Got to run here at 4 p.m. Eastern because.